Welcome back to the Richard Dixon Show. I'm Donna Francavilla. I'm filling in for Richard. I'm a correspondent with CBS Radio News, and Richard was kind enough to have invited me on. And I am also the owner of Frankly Speaking Communications. I do some media training, presentation training, PR work. You can check me out at donnafrancavilla.com and franklyspeakingcommunications.com. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. I have two websites, and both are outdated. I need to get to those and update them a little bit. And by the way, I was named one of Birmingham's top 50 over 50 last week. And so now everybody knows my age, and it's in B Metro magazine, and a very nice picture. They took pictures of all 50 of us. It came out great, only because I have a good hairdresser. Rose Frazier at Hair Reflections made me look fabulous. She really did my hair well, and actually I think it looks better now than it ever has. So thank you, Rose, for that. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was the politics, the presidential politics, and Heidi Harris has been agreed to stay on with us for a few more minutes, so we can do that. And Heidi, are you back with us?
I am.
So Heidi, I got to tell you, and I want to tell everybody about my Donald Trump story. I'm sure you have a Donald Trump story, but this is my Donald Trump story. So late 20s, I'm working for WPGC AM, an all-business radio station, brand new, never been done before, all-business format. We were the first major market to have tried it out. This is before CNBC. This is before FNN, and I'm the program director and the news director. So I go out to interview Donald Trump about the Taj Mahal. Do you remember that? You know, he was building all the. He has some properties in Las Vegas, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's got a real tacky building with a lot of gold glass on it in Vegas, yes.
Anyway, so he was touting the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City, but he also owned Eastern Airlines at the time, and Eastern Airlines had gone on strike, and Donald was trying to sell it, I believe. And so we went out there to get some feedback from him about what the future of Eastern Airlines. Do you remember that time period? Were you in the media then?
I do. I know I wasn't, but I do remember that. You made me think about Western Airlines, too, which is now defunct also. Interesting.
So Donald Trump at the time was not well liked by the media. Do you remember that?
I do.
So I remember getting there, and people were like, yeah, this is just another publicity stunt. He's always just grabbing at the media, wants to get on the air, Well, anyway, I ended up getting Donald to tout my radio station, and he read the statements, and he said, "Hi, I'm Donald Trump, and when I'm in Washington, D.C., I listen to WPGC AM, Business Radio 1580. And Heidi, I don't have a cart machine, but it's on a cart at the house. I can't play it for you because it's still on the cart. Nobody has cart machines. One of these days, I will digitize it. It is, the Washington Post wrote about it. The Washington Times wrote about it because they said that the big shark was outmaneuvered by the little fish. He was the big shark. I was the little fish. That's my Donald Trump story.
That's funny. Well, you turned on the Francavilla charm, and he fell for it.
Well, he looked down at me in typical Trump style, and he goes, "Oh, you're pretty." And I'm thinking, great,
Work it, girl, work it. Take advantage of it while he's distracted.
Well, I didn't want to line up to be his next wife. I mean, Larry King and Donald Trump, how many do they have collectively? Like a harem together?
I think Larry's on number, 7 or 8? Yeah, his wife is darling. I've met her, and she's very sweet. I don't know her well, but I've certainly met her, and she's very nice. So is he. But, yeah, I think she's about number 8 or something, and he's like 80-something, and she's my age, so there you go.
So, all right. So we talked about Trump. We talked about some of the Democrats who might be running. Let's talk a little bit before I let you go about Carly. And I am fascinated by this woman. She is attractive, intelligent, and has lots of balls for a woman. How do you think she's going to do in the presidential race?
Well, I think the problem is she's probably not going to get on the first Fox debate this week, and that's a problem for her, obviously, because I guess they're going to have a second debate for the people who are farther down the poll. It's unfortunate that she's not on the stage, not because she's a woman, but for the same reasons you mentioned. She's very sharp. She's accomplished. I saw her speak in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago in person. I read her book many years ago, Tough Choices, that she wrote after the whole fiasco that she had at Hewlett-Packard. Very interesting. I've been a fan for a long time. She gave a great speech. She answered a lot of questions. I think she's excellent. She's up on a lot more issues than I would have thought, just because I haven't followed her that closely recently. I was very impressed with her, and I would love to see her on that main stage on Thursday night. I just think there are so many people running, so many men running that don't have a prayer, and I think Carly is sharper than several of the people who are going to be on that stage, and that's a shame.
Do you think it's going to come down to, are we finally going to do it as a nation? Are we going to pull the trigger and put our trust in a woman and show that women can do this job and make history? Do you think that as a nation we're going to be so tempted by that possibility that we will move forward instead of trying to do what we've always done, which is choose, a male?
Yeah, I like Carly Fiorina, and I'd hate to think that it would just be about the woman thing, because, when you look at the people on the Supreme Court, all the women on the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned, the U.S. Supreme Court, are awful. They're not there because, they're women. It's not that. They're awful. Every one of them is awful. So give me 9 Clarence Thomases. I don't really care if they're women or men, but I just think Carly has a lot on the ball, and I think people who survive, I have a lot of respect for people who've gone through a lot and been publicly, I don't want to say humiliated, that's not the right word, but been publicly criticized by so many people and have been publicly kicked to the curb like she has. I have a lot of respect for folks like her who continue to come back again and again. She could curl up into a ball, but she has not chosen to do that. And I think that's admirable. We need more of that.
Do you think there are any negatives that that Carly Fiorina's facing as she moves forward through this campaign?
Well, she has no political experience. That's the problem. She ran for office in California, was unsuccessful. She hasn't really held elective office, and you need to do something, I believe, hold some kind of elective office. If you've not spent a ton of time in Capitol Hill, even though, as you know, governors historically have a better chance of becoming presidents than senators do for a lot of reasons, still, it would be better if she'd had some elective office. And I agree with most everything she said. The one thing that I didn't agree with when I saw her speak a couple weeks ago, and I will take that up with her if she comes on my show. I didn't want to take it up with her in that room because that wasn't the point. But she mentioned this whole thing about nonviolent offenders and how we need to change the sentencing for nonviolent offenders. And, the problem that some people are not understanding is that nonviolent offenders are the people who rob your house, these so-called people who are drug addicts. And nobody goes to prison because they smoke one joint. Everybody knows that. And let's talk about we want to give people a second chance. Your first chance was the first time you got arrested. You had plenty of chances after that to not wind up going to prison. And so I was a little upset that she didn't understand that concept, because if anybody who's been burglarized, and many of us have been, understands this concept of quote-unquote non-violent offenders. And the people who want to let them out of jail early are not the ones who are going to be victimized by them. They're the ones who live behind big gates. They have security. It's us, you and me. We're going to be victimized by these non-violent offenders who deserve a second chance. So I was surprised, as smart as she is, that she wasn't up on that particular aspect of it.
You make a good point. And by the way, my house was burglarized, all my jewelry taken. And, so I'm there right there with you, having been a victim of nonviolent crime. And, at the time the police were saying, we're so focused on getting the violent criminals behind bars that, they just go on to continue committing crimes. And in this case, in my personal case, the guy was caught, and he did pay some money back. I think he was sentenced to pay $200 a month or something like that for a couple of years. But he's out there free. He was a meth user, a known drug user, who needed to be set, out of society where he couldn't continue to victimize people, and yet they let him go free. So, there must be a better way to deal with them. You're absolutely right. And Heidi, I would love to keep you for another little while, but I can't, because we are going to be talking to Jeffrey Lord, in this upcoming segment. I want to thank you so much for your comments and for your time. And for all of you who don't know Heidi, she is a talk host and author in Las Vegas. And Heidi, if people visit Las Vegas, I know they're not there just to listen to you. They're there to, gamble and have a good time. But in their sober moments, how can they find you on the radio?
Tell them to check out HeidiHarris.com. That'll take you to my website and all my Twitter and all that stuff. So HeidiHarris.com.
And, and follow her on Facebook, folks. She comes up with the most smart comments and the most interesting posts of anybody on Facebook. It's always...
Oh,
a delight to track you and see what you're talking about.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, listen, I thank you for many, many years of friendship. Full disclosure, we've been friends for years. You're doing a fantastic job filling in. I know it's hard to fill in for somebody, especially when you don't do radio every day. Even if you do, it's hard. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you so much. And because you said that, you get to keep being my friend. All right.
Oh,
thanks.
right. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Heidi. And we're going to make a call now and try to get a hold of Jeffrey Lort. And now Jeffrey's not someone I've spoken to before. He's apparently a regular on this show.
He writes for the American Spectator, and he's a national pundit. He's been on CNN talking about Donald Trump a lot lately.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, Heidi has been on the Ed Schultz show. She's a regular on that program on CNBC and does a fabulous job. So, yeah, it'd be nice to talk to Jeffrey and see what he has to say and get his take on politics. You know, I'm monitoring CNN and MSNBC, and I see that Trump is now leading the GOP in a new NBC poll. And he's not leading by just a little bit, not a percentage or two, but by 19%, something like outrageous like that. So apparently Heidi is right. In a nation of people who follow Bruce Jenner, who is, turning, has now a new identity as a woman. And in a nation where we follow reality TV, we're loving Donald Trump. So, this is probably going to be one of the most fascinating presidential elections, at least in my lifetime, because of the cast of characters who are running against one another, and so many in the Republican field. And now, the thought of Hillary Clinton running this race again against Joe Biden, someone she's known her whole life, her whole career, who is a reputable man, and has quite a story to tell. This should be a really interesting election. Do we need to take a break so you can contact
I didn't know if you wanted me. You said next
Jeffrey?
segment, so I assumed we were taking a break.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break and talk to Jeffrey. And while you're getting ready to do that, I will tell you, you are listening to WAPI. If you want to call us and speak to me directly, I'll be happy to take your call. The number here is 944-1070, 944-1070. And if you don't want to spend a dime, I guess it's no longer a dime, you can call in toll free at 866-927-1070. That's 927-1070. And the lineup for the rest of the afternoon, where we're going to have fun, we have Charles Barkley joining us right after 3 o'clock. We have Mayor Bell at 4, and Paul DeMarco, former Representative Paul DeMarco, at 4:30. I'm Donna Francavilla. You're listening to the Richard Dixon Show on 1070 WAPI.